Hello, girlies. Come on in. Are you ready for our Tuesday training? As always, we have these every single week. So if you know anyone that is interested or struggling with gut troubles, make sure you do invite them. Today's section will run about 15 minutes. We're going to be going through how to overcome your IBS anxiety in 3 practical, realistic steps, not like cutting out your favorite foods or going on eliminations or, restricting and fasting and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to walk you through what has helped me find food freedom, like without feeling overwhelmed and defeated and all that kind of stuff, and give you a peek inside of what we do inside of Gut Recharge through this method called the free method. So if you all are, actually first I want to introduce myself for those that are new. If you're new here, my name is Laura Martin. Welcome. I'm happy to have you. Where are you tuning in from? Are you watching the live or the replay? I started Healing to Happy years ago when I was on a mission to find a real solution to healing my gut, not just something that kept me on a fancy supplement regime, not something that cut out all my favorite food groups, because I was basically living on the same thing every single day. And I was so afraid of food and I had crippling anxiety, and it's not only started to affect my health anymore, but it affected my relationships because I couldn't connect with anyone. no one understood the battle I was fighting inside. And so something that was really big to me is that I wanted to create community around that, because it's a silent battle, right? And so that's what Happy Gut Gang is. It's where people that get you, people that understand what's going on, people that are probably fighting the same thing you are. And so it really is just a space for you guys to connect, to learn, to grow. We have recipes, we have these free trainings. There's a lot of just like information for whatever stage you're in, whether you are just starting out in your gut feeling journey or you've been doing it for 10 years like I had been. We have information and we have the resources and community for you, because it's probably not your first time showing up and on the hunt for a community or some type of resource to help healing your gut, but it has, it's about linking arms with people that you can identify with and really all that kind of stuff. That's what changed my life. That's what, when I linked arms with my naturopath and she asked me this one big question, it's really what did end up changing my life. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you have lots of value. I think we're at like 30 and some change live videos in here, and we have them every Tuesday. And also for those of you tuning in, if you are looking for a more personalized approach, I do have right now, we are running Gut Started roadmap calls. I have 2 spots available tomorrow. If anyone wants to get in on those, they're 30 minutes, just kind of discovering what your root issue is, what is your roadblocks, and how are we going to overcome that. And then we'll put together the fastest game plan to get you there. So you can book that by going to healingtohappy.com/book-a-call. Now to the learning, shall we? So I have my tea, I have my candle, we have the intention of just really learning and growing, because I know this is a sensitive subject, right? Like anxiety, anything to do with our emotions is something that it's difficult. And I remember so well of just being defeated by it all and not understanding that the two were connected, right? Because it's not like we have bad intention when we go to heal our gut, right? Like we're eliminating these foods out of good intention because that's what we were told is the best thing to do. That's what the gut gurus, that's what the doctors told us. They're like, hey, go follow a low FODMAP diet. And you're like, what does that even mean? And it's just overwhelming. It's hard to go out to eat. It's hard to not feel isolated in those moments of trying the keto, the carnivore, the low FODMAP, the no sugar, the no fructose, the no fat, the no carbs, the no any of that kind of stuff. It's like, no. It's very overwhelming and very disheartening. You know what I mean? And it gets to a point that I'm like getting messages, and I felt this as too, that like you're fearing bananas and apples and you're fearing foods that are meant to be healthy because your body feels like it's just fighting against you. And it's just disheartening, it's overwhelming, and it's lonely. And I know that because I did that, right? Like I went through, I don't even know how many Whole30s. I went through different elimination diets. I was only drinking smoothies for like a year of my life because I couldn't keep anything down. Relationships suffered, and there was this internal battle. And at the same time, I had this crippling anxiety. And so from an early age, I've had anxiety. And I see that a lot with the girls that I've jumped on phone calls with. They're like, oh, but I've had anxiety since I was younger. And it's like, okay, yes. And so when did your gut trouble start? And it's usually correlated together. So growing up, like I had IBS for as long as I can remember, but we didn't identify it as IBS. It was just, I had gut issues. I was very sensitive. My skin was very sensitive. My hair was very frailly. My nails would like just fall off. And I could not poop, like for the life of me. My mom had to stand outside the bathroom and basically be my cheerleader. At the same time, alternatively, I was also very, very depressed growing up. But at the time, we just thought I was a moody teenager, right? Like that's how we write it off. But what I've come to know now over years of studying this stuff and looking at myself and my background in psychology and nutrition and everything is that my depression was actually anxiety induced. And maybe that's you, like you fluctuate between the two, just like your IBS fluctuates between constipation and diarrhea. And so because of this awesome gut-brain connection, these two things are connected. And what we don't know is we're trying to treat these things separately, right? Like we're taking antidepressants and we're taking like SSRIs, or we're taking Xanax to help with anxiety, whatever have you. We're taking brain chemical stimulants to get things going to feel a little bit more normal, whatever that means. Alternatively, we're also trying all these different, fasts and diets and supplement regimes. And maybe even like our doctors have said, it's all in your head. So maybe just go try an SSRI. And so we're trying to approach these things separately. And at the same time, you're feeling attacked by your body. You're not feeling embodied and supported in this thing because it's not working for you, right? And so then you're anxious about food, you're anxious about going out, you're anxious where the nearest toilet is. It's frustrating, And so when you actually apply these things together, because they are interconnected, granted, this is very new science, and everything I always tell you guys, it's all educational purposes. Run it by your doctor first, of course. But what I've come to know over the decade of studying this stuff is the gut-brain connection and how different uses of food, different bacteria in our gut, different different pathogens, different parasites, different, all the kind of things that are going on inside of us influence our brain because of this gut-brain connection. Because these two things are in constant communication through the gut-brain axis. I'm not going to get too technical on it. You can Google it if you want. Granted, we only have 15 minutes on here. But we have as many neurotransmitters in our gut as we do in our brain. And these things like dopamine, our reward hormone, serotonin, our happy hormone, GABA, the thing that helps us calm down and feel relaxed. All these things are housed in our gut lining, and actually 80% of the communication is from our gut to our brain. So to think these things are dealt with separately is just kind of missing the whole picture and will keep you in this cycle. And if you feel like you've tried all the diets and you've tried all the things to heal your gut, try looking at your brain and your stress and all that kind of stuff, because if you can eat all the kale salads, you can eat all the, low FODMAP foods, and you can eliminate all the stuff on your IgE tests and food sensitivity tests, and you can do all that kind of stuff. But because you're in this malnourished, stressed out, anxious state, that does not matter. And that is not consistent, because that doesn't actually heal the root of the issue as to why you can't digest that food to begin with. Are you understanding? Is this all making sense to you? Like that these two pillars need to go together, right? Like they need to go together like peanut butter and jelly, because if we're only addressing one and we're starving out the bacteria, we're not getting to the root cause of why this bacteria is there to begin with and why it's an issue, because we all have candida, we all have bad bacteria, we all have parasites. It's just a matter of when they become rampant and go crazy and have a rave in our belly, that's the issue. So why were they allowed in? What trespass did they get through? And how do we seal that back up? And so getting to the point, right? And how this, something that you can start applying today is, one, understand that like every single thing in your body, these symptoms, these flares, your brain feeling like it's working against you, or the lethargy, like Your body is always, always, always trying to keep you alive, and it's always, always, always trying to show you that something is off. Its job is to keep you in balance. And so when something is off, it's going to show you these flare-ups. And so you can grant that with permission, or you can shame it away and hide it away and get stuck in this trap. So you sit there, and when it knocks on your door, you just go, oh, what do you need, right? Like it's a messenger running up, and it's like, what's the message? And so the first thing I want you to do is figure out your foundations. And this is why inside of Gut Recharge, I don't talk about those 4 R's of like removing or inoculating, replacing, and repairing. Like I'm not into that jam. I'm more into figuring out your foundations, because the more you remove stuff, the weaker your metabolic function and stomach acid actually gets. So I'm not about that. It's what is that actual root cause that's causing this imbalance? And that could go back to like when you were like 2, right? Like that's how mine was. Going back to like over antibiotic use and stress and trauma and the way I was eating and sugar overload and just too much stress on my tiny little body. And so we're going back to that, right? And we're figuring out that, but that comes from understanding what is your current state of being. What are your foundations that you're currently at? What do you normally eat like, right? And this is where like food journals come in. And if you guys want, you can check out the Gut Diary, $7. It helps you track all the things you actually need to be looking at, not just your food, because that's great. Well, that's great, right? But like, I want that back. That's great. But how does it make you feel? What are your energy like? What's the bloating like? What's your bowels like? What's your stress like? And then it teaches you the system of how that works, because it's not just what you ate that day. It can be 72 hours later or 72 hours before. And so it really helps you get your power back. And this is the first step that we do teach inside of Gut Recharge. So if you are curious about that, you can book a call, we can chat about it, or you can just head over to healingtohappy.com/gut-recharge and have a look at there. Or healingtohappy.com/gut diary if you're looking to buy that diary. But really walking you through that foundations of not just tracking your macro, micro, all that kind of stuff, like not my jam. It shouldn't be your jam either. But what are the principles and what should you be looking for? What should you be adding in, most importantly, so that you can relieve these symptoms and get this stuff out of the way, because there are key nutrients. There is different foods. There is different timings. There is different meals you should be eating at time, like certain times of the day, and how much time in between, and all this stuff that kind of makes your head spin. It's just broken down in a format because they are important, but it's one day at a time, my friend. Okay, so first thing is that. Second thing is, and I did this wrong, right? Like everyone does it wrong. Like intermittent fasting. Can we just put a stop to it? Like, can we please, as women of reproductive age, can we make a promise right here, right now on this candle that we're going to stop intermittent fasting, because we love ourselves and starving ourselves is just not okay. Because what is happening with intermittent fasting? Yes, you're starving out the bacteria. But again, why is bacteria there to begin with? 2, we need to eat, right? Like the problem is when we're eating too much all throughout the day, we're grazing, like give me a raise of hands if you're my snacking ladies out there. There is a way in why meal times are very important in allowing this time period in between your meals. Do not skip breakfast, my friends. Because you're already fasting, all right, through the evening, either 12 to 14 hours, right? However it is for you. 12 to 14 hours is enough for that mitigated function to come in, that clean sweeper, like that janitor after a party coming in and cleaning all the bacteria up and letting that go. That is enough time to happen and to help it pulsate and clear everything out. That's enough time for you. And all the studies that are done on intermittent fasting, for you people that are going to come at me, no, those studies are done on menopausal women and men. I'm sorry, but I want children someday, and so does my body. And a lot of the bloating that you feel are based in hormones because you're starving. If your body isn't getting the nutrients it needs, it's going to be overworking its liver. It's going to be overworking its organs of detoxification and taking away from repairing, because it's not resting, because it's stressed out. We need to be eating. And the things that happen when our body thinks we're in famine, the things to go are digestion and reproduction. And that's why my period went missing for 5 years. And I still struggle with it. Like, I don't lie about that. It comes and it goes when it pleases, because I'm still trying to rebalance that. I'm working my tail off to get it. I've consistently got it for a year, but it's It's finicky. It's not the 28-day cycle we aim for. And that's what happens with these IBS diets and how restrictive and all this kind of stuff is. And we're skipping these meals because we read these books and we're doing this stuff and we're eliminating carbs. And it's like, you're a female of reproductive age. Look at the physiology, look at the biology and how these two things are meeting together. And that's the key point. That's the importance. And if we're taking that out and we're reading studies by menopausal women and men, I'm sorry, that does not apply to you. Okay. And you probably felt good in the beginning because you were starving out bacteria and you're getting an adrenaline rush, but this isn't consistent and this actually does long-term damage. So I want to nip that in the butt that yes, we do need this time period of windows between eating, and we do need these periods of just like letting our body digest and letting our brain digest and this whole nourishing thing. But there is such a smart way to do it. And there's like exactly what I teach you inside of Get Recharged. There's a smart way to do this that you can actually apply it to your life and you don't have to feel restricted. Okay, there's just simple techniques that you can have freedom. Once you have that, you can focus on everything else in your life. You can have the freedom to, you know, go out to eat with your partner and have like a cheeky wine night with your girls and be able to enjoy some cheese. You know, who misses it? Not me. I mean, I had it for lunch, but you're able to have these things and you're able to not worry about this stuff and you have the natural energy. You're not bogged down. You're not like craving. You're not thinking. Who else here has like eaten, they're like eating their food and then they're like thinking of their next meal. And then like, as they're on their way to their next meal, they're just like thinking of their last meal and planning the next one. And just like the only thing you're thinking about is food. There's so much brain space out there. Okay, so we have tracking your foundations and then not skipping meals. And then the third one is consistency. So your body is this beautiful vessel that loves to know what's up. It does not like to guess. It does not like to be thrown through a loop. Yes, stress at certain times is great. Not when you're healing, right? Like we love this whole like throwing ourselves into ice baths and shocking our system and biohacking. And don't get me wrong, that stuff is super interesting and the science makes me super nerdy, but not the key point. When you're healing, your body needs to know it's safe. It needs to know it needs to be able to rest and digest and relax, and it needs to be feminine, and it just needs to just like be like what you would picture Mother Nature, just like motherly in your womb and all that kind of stuff. And so the way to do that is figuring out a plan that you can consistently show up to. And that is exactly what Gut Recharge is teaching you, right? Like it's not a diet plan, it's not Whole30, it's not, you know, taking step by step and like, what do you do after the next 4 weeks? It's showing you exactly how to create that lifestyle. And so picking something, pick one thing, right? Like it could be meditation, it could be eating styles, it could be focusing on protein, it could be the time of day that you're eating, it could be sleeping, it could be going on walks at certain times. Whatever it is, pick one thing and figure out a way to make that consistent throughout your life, and then add on top of it. Don't come in and overhaul your life and think like, tomorrow I am going to wake up at 6, I'm going to eat my foods at all the same time, I'm also going to, you know, go to the gym, and then I'm also going to go to bed at this time, and then I'm going to figure out a way to walk the dog, take care of the kids, clean the house, do my laundry, and do grocery shopping, right? Like, don't be overzealous, although I love the gung-ho. Be practical in it. Pick one thing. What are you going to do? How are you going to add that in? We're at, what day is today, 19? How can you add that in for the rest of the month and consistently do it? Every single day, even weekends. Even weekends. So you want to make sure you're adding this in, and then you build on top of it, because this vessel loves consistency. And just because we're doing something for, say, 30 days, and then 31 comes up, and we're like, I'm out. Give me that beer. Give me those wings. I'm done, right? Like, I'm done, right? Like, no, this is why diets don't work, because we got to figure out how you drink that beer and have those wings in your nutrition plan anyway, so that you're excited to show up, so your body knows what's happened, so you can heal. It knows what's going. There's no more guessing. There's no more overworking, because when you're guessing, you are stressing. And what did I say earlier? I can't actually hear you guys, that's fine. If you're stressing, you're not digesting. Okay, and that's the main thing, right? Like, we want predictable poops. We want to feel banging in our body. We want to feel energized. We want to be like silly and playful and like run around with our kids and like make love with our partner and just like feel good, right? Like, that is the vibe of 2021. You feel me? So Let me know what you guys, which one of these three are you guys going to be, are you ladies going to be applying as we dance into the rest of this month? And so, yeah, we can cheer each other on, we can support each other and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys also need a little bit more support, you want a roadmap, you want to discover what's getting in your way, you want to build out the next actionable steps. Like I said, I have 2 spots open tomorrow. One's at 12 and one's at 2. Tomorrow at Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if there's any more on Friday. I can't actually see that far in my calendar. But yeah, you can just go to healingtohappy.com/book-a-call. I think that takes you to this like written sales letter thing. And then you just scroll down and click. I need to get a better link for this. Oh, actually it's healingtohappy.com/roadmap. That's the fast one. Good job, Laura. You know when there's just like links galore somewhere, I need that file cabinet in my brain and just like pull it out. Anyways, healingtohappy.com/roadmap takes you right to my calendar. And so you can book the time. If Thursday does not work, I have next week available. I only do a handful of these a month. And because I did have the workshop last week, like I have 12 of them this week. We're approaching that length right now. And so when we get to the end of that, we're done, we're tapped, all that kind of stuff. So if you're curious on the next right steps, go to healingtohappy.com/roadmap and we'll jump on a call and we'll put together some actionable steps for you. Sound good? Happy healings, my friends.